Hey guys, welcome to Coaching with Chris. I gotta say, I love my job. Like I woke up this morning, I was excited. I was excited to be able to introduce to you the next Coaching with Chris guest. I think you're gonna love her story. You're gonna love her passion. You're gonna love how she's helping loan officers across the country do amazing. But more importantly, like, look, if you guys don't have a ability to be able to watch this online or don't want to see my ugly mug, look, you can go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and be able to listen this to on your way to work, or maybe your way home, or maybe it's a little short trip to visit a client. We just want to make this super simple and easy to be able to you guys to be able to connect and be able to listen to originators and top industry leaders in our business that can make an impact in your business. So listen, I met this lady at our first event. We did a summit in Scottsdale in 21, I do believe, and I have watched her grow. I'm like secretly watching her company grow, watch herself grow, watched her get into becoming a coach, like watched a lot of these things. So I'm excited even to get to know even more. So Corrina Carter is an industry leader, and she has done an amazing job for not only all the broker community, but for anyone that's in the mortgage business. So Corrina, how are you?
I'm good, Chris. How are you doing?
Good. You're in Phoenix for a month.
I'm in Phoenix for a month, and I can't complain about the 85-degree weather we're going to have today.
No humidity.
No humidity. I am used to the humidity, so it is totally different. Now, I don't know if I could do with 115, 120 days, but the 85 with no humidity, I will take every day. It's good for the hair.
My wife, okay, I didn't know that. But I will say two things that I've learned. This is my fourth winter in Scottsdale, and I've learned I got to use lotion.
Okay.
And my wife puts a humidifier by our bed to be able to like get a little moisture in there because it's so stinking dry. But 85, not very many bugs, is pretty dang nice.
Yeah, we're used to the bugs too and the humidity. So it is very nice. So why didn't we find this area sooner in life, Chris?
I don't know. I'm a slow learner. I'm a slow
I think
learner.
it's, yeah, I was thinking about that this weekend, traveling up to Sedona for the first time. I was like, now
Mm.
why haven't I been here before?
Isn't it beautiful?
Absolutely gorgeous. Pictures do not do it justice. So if you haven't been, it is 100% worth the trip. Pictures, you just can't take the right pictures.
Yeah, and you took the train.
And I took the train. I relaxed. I took the train. I did a Jeep tour. It was absolutely fabulous. Yes.
My wife was just there. They did the Jeep tour. It was cold and rainy when they did it. And then they were all frozen when they came back. And I'm like, you can't, this is the one thing we can't predict is Mother Nature. And every once in a while, she's going to throw us a little cold spell. But hey, it's 85 now. It's really super nice. The sun's out. And, uh, and so is the mortgage business. But you got started a while ago.
Yes. So I started in 1997. And I'll just tell you real quick, I got fired from my job. Literally, only time I've ever been fired in my life. I got fired from my job and it landed this career 3 weeks later. And I am still here 27 years later. Insane, correct?
Correct. You know, when you say you got fired from your job, I did too. That's how I got in the mortgage business. So our story is similar into that aspect. I asked an applicant the other day, I said, so what did you learn? And what was your biggest takeaways from when you lost your job last time? And
So one of the
if someone says
so,
that and they say nothing, you're like,
yeah,
don't, I'm just saying run.
run.
But when
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah.
say, go ahead.
It's so I'll share this. I got fired not because I wasn't doing my job. I got fired because I wanted to be with my family. So
Mm.
So yeah, so totally a little different than what you would presume. But what I learned from it was a Thursday morning, my sister called me and said my nephew is being rushed to the cancer ward. They first thought he was being abused. They weren't really sure why all these bruises were popping up. And needless to say, an hour later, he's being helicoptered to the cancer ward in Northern Virginia for leukemia. And I told my boss, I have to go. And he said, if you walk out this door, don't ever come back. I've given you a grave opportunity as a single mom with 2 kids, no education, and you're barely making it. This is your first year. You've cracked 60 grand in your life, which was great money in 1997. You're not leaving. This is our 2 busiest weekends. It was the middle of May in Virginia Beach. And he said, you're not leaving. And I was like, I don't know if my nephew's going to live through the weekend. What would I do with my family and just tell them I had to be at work? So I left, called him 4 days later and asked him, did that still stand? Could I come back to work? And he said, no.
Well, I love it that your priorities are in order.
So the lesson I learned from there is I wanted to be a different boss than he was, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to be a different leader than he was. So every week I check in with my whole team. Are they struggling? Are they in position where they're gauging their work properly? Are we putting too much on them? Are they working nights and weekends? Should they be working nights and weekends? What is their job aligned with what they're doing and what their goals and aspirations are? And I think that's a big deal. And that's one thing we're doing here today, talking about coaching, talking about where we're going, talking about what the mortgage industry is going. And do we do enough check-ins? So the biggest thing I learned from there is he just had to do something just a little different, gauge and check in. And it would have changed my whole trajectory of my life because I wouldn't be here with you right now and I wouldn't be in the mortgage industry.
Right. I think check-ins are super important. Wow, what an amazing story. So you start into mortgage, right?
Yes.
Mortgage found you. I find that mortgage finds us.
It does.
And what was your first position?
So I was a girl Friday. I went to the courthouse and I pulled notes that were over 7.5%. That was me. So you used to really record the notes. And we really had a yellow book that we called the phone book. And we would go to the courthouse and we would pull so many notes per week. And we would spend Friday nights and Saturday calling those people. And the team that I worked with, we would set them up for a position to get them scheduled for their appointment with the loan officer. And that's what we did. And then we would collect the docs from them. And it was when we dropped from right about 96, 97, when you're talking about, we dropped from probably 10% to like 7.5, right? 10% to like 8, 7.5, and right there. So anything over 7.5 was fair game. And then there was a plethora of products out there, especially some new second mortgages too. And that's what we would do. We would set them up for the application. We would set them in position to meet with a loan officer. We had about 50 loan officers at our company. We only had 1 female loan officer at our company out of 50 loan officers at that time. And we two, me and my best friend, who still works with me to this day, we were on Girl Fridays and we went to the courthouse, got these notes. And then when they didn't want to do the appointments on nights and weekends, we would do the appointments for them too as well. Because you didn't have to be licensed then. Right. So that's how we started building our business. And after 9 months, asked for a real job, I guess you would call it.
So did you go from that? By the way, I remember I didn't actually go down and do the title work searches, but I mean, many of my loan officers did, and it worked.
Yeah, it did.
It was a great way to generate leads. It just worked. And I know today we have all this fancy stuff and technology and everything else, but in the old days it was a tablet, and you did all your research. But then, what was your next position after this? After, what'd you call it? Friday?
Girl Friday, like a Girl Friday. Yeah.
Girl
Have
Friday.
you ever heard that term? It was like a Girl Friday.
I learned something today.
Okay, like that would where you call the temp world, right? Let me go hire a girl Friday, an on the go person that would just do anything, right?
Okay.
So that's what we considered ourselves was like girl Fridays. We would do whatever anybody didn't want to do. That's what we would do. And after 9 months, seeing everybody in position that didn't want to work nights and weekends, and we would, and that also didn't want to collect the documents, and we would. We eventually asked for a position as loan officers, and again, there was 50 loan officers, and there was only one female, a loan officer. All the others were trainers or processors, and they were like, "Well, you really haven't proven yourself. You don't have any training." We were like, 9 months of doing everybody else's work, and we attended classes for them. We took back the notes for the classes. We told them what they could do, not do, and what they were eligible to do for the programs, products. We met with the AE. So we really did everything, and we were not employed by the company. We were just side chicks, right? We were just really girl Fridays, and we got paid on the side from the people, and we paid each other's bills for 9 months until we asked for a position. And we asked for a senior position too. We didn't want to be a beginner loan officer. We were like, we've already did this for 9 months. We want to be a senior loan officer. And they were like, we're going to give you temporary. And our second month, and both of us made 10 grand, which we probably made 2 or 3 grand a piece for each month for the first 9 months, just learning. So I would say interning to a degree that we would call it now, right? And in that position, after the first month and us putting in each of probably 12 to 15 deals, by about the sixth month, we had a pipeline of about 35 to 50 deals.
Wow.
And so it was beneficial for us. I say all the time, I ask people, what are they willing to do to get into a career that could change their life? And a lot of people now, because of modern technology and everything else they see, they're not used to just doing things for free. Technically, that's what we did for almost 9 months, right?
That's right.
So here we are today, almost
Wow.
30
Wait.
years later.
Wait. Let's fill a couple gaps real quick. So you started killing it as a loan officer, right?
Mhm.
But then when did you decide, okay, I need my own shop?
So I'd say 8 years in. So it was about 6.5, 7 years in. Everybody was jumping in the mortgage space. So this, you get 2001, 2002, 2003. Everybody was jumping in the mortgage space. And
Rates
I
were
say
6% then.
6%, 6.5. So we were steadily going from 8.5 to 7.5 to 6 to 6, and somewhere right around 6.5 to 6%. And here's what I say right now. And I talk to everybody and all the loan officers I talk to right now. I said, everything comes back in style. Baggy jeans come back in style. Different coats come back in style. Cargo pants come back in style. Things that I've bought recently that I said I had in the 80s. Those things come back in style. We are recycling. And if I mirror what I did in 2002 to what I'm doing right now, it is absolutely no different, Chris, right? Who is being seen and heard is going to be picked, right? Whether it be by phone, by social media, by education. Those are the most important things in our industry right now. If you are not out there casting your net 10 times as big, and we didn't have that in 2002. We didn't have the internet. I said, if you take the internet out of the equation, it's an identical market. It's education. It's getting with people. And also too is everybody was kind of dual career. They were a real estate agent and loan officer or title. Those things are coming back too as well. And you had to be educated in all parts. So we learned all facets. But doing that, there were also some people that I felt like we didn't want to be associated with. And, if you look on my NMLS, I've been with 3 companies my whole life, right? And the third one being my own. And we just really decided after everybody was jumping in the pool, we didn't want to look like the next person with the same company down the street. And so I wanted to open my own brokerage. And then I was told no, that I couldn't, that I didn't have enough experience. But we did. I did in 2005. And within 9 months, within 3 months, I had my VA credentials. Within 9 months, I was the only broker in my area that had FHA Mini Eagle. That was very hard to get. And I was told you could not get it within 5 years. And I was determined that no matter what, we needed all tools in our toolbox. That's how we learned on our Girl Friday stunt. We showed everybody in the company everything they could do. We actually gave them more paychecks because we taught them the education part that they didn't want to go to the classes. So I got my FHA Mini Eagle. I was the only broker in town with my FHA Mini Eagle, and it cost me a lot of money each year. You know, you're talking 20 to 40 grand at that time per year to probably keep it, right, as a small broker. And
yeah, wait, let's go back to that really quick.
Yeah,
because I
sure.
don't think most people understand it. Like back then, what was it? 25 or 50,000 net worth was what to get a Mini Eagle. It's changed, obviously. It's way bigger today. But
Yes,
back then,
yes.
it was 25 or 50. But that wasn't the problem.
Yes,
The problem was the full audit.
the full audit. Good God. Yes, I remember those
You
days.
remember it?
Yes,
Like,
yes.
I remember going home to my wife. I'm like, I feel naked. What was that for? And what was this? And what?
Yeah.
It was insane. It's harder today, but you killed it to get your Mini Eagle that soon.
Yeah. So think about this, being licensed in 23 states now, I'll share with you, I think that prepared me for what we do now with each state, where other people may not want to go through that. But if you talk about a state audit, a federal audit, it was no different, right? You're talking 10 times as much of what you had to do to keep that. No one would want to go through that. Let's fast forward from 2005 to 2009. The only thing you could do on the market was FHA 4 years later. And guess who was the only person in town that had their FHA? So that 50 grand a year and that taxing audit that we had to go through, which happened to be one of my loan officers was a CPA / military financing accountant who was getting out of the military, becoming a CPA. So we trained each other. And to this day, he does anywhere from 2 to 10 FHA full-blown audits for companies and different things for the government. He's contracted with FHA because he started with me on my FHA audits and we learned together. So things changed. But 4 years later, fast forward 2009, only one with FHA, and the only product out there when all the subprime went down was FHA.
Right.
Yes, right.
You had it.
And I was the only broker in town that had it. So fortunately for me, 19 years later, I'm still here. And that is one of the reasons why. So you never know what is going to actually change the trajectory or even save your career possibly, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so true. So going, like, you've grown and, obviously 09 was super tough, and then you worked your way, and then we had COVID, and then you get to a spot where it is today, right? Where, tell me about your organization today. How many loan officers do you have? What's the staff look like? I think everybody's always interested about, like, what's the shop look like?
Sure. So we're licensed in 23 states. We have 100 loan officers now, and we're in a position to where I would say we have about 30% of our loan officers who are newer to the industry, that have been in the business less than 5 years. I am huge on opportunity. We even have a scholarship that will pay for you to get licensed either in title, real estate, or mortgages. If you have a conversation with me, it's called Career Opportunity Funds for Enthusiastic Entrepreneurs. So it's our coffee scholarship. And I'm actually giving one out today, a scholarship to a young lady that came to me and she wants to get into the mortgage business. And so we do take on loan officers who also want to get into the business and have opportunities. And for us, really keeping up with the education. I love what you're doing here, Chris, the coaching calls. We do 3 coaching calls a week. We do Tech and Tool Tuesdays, Winning Wednesdays, and Tell Me More Thursdays. So those are our points of not sales meetings, not checking in, not micromanaging, but actually what can we do to bring the education part? Because as you said, 2009 was a really tough part for most people. For 2009, I don't remember 2009 as being tough because I did great in 9 and 10 because of having my FHA. I also, while having my FHA, I created my second company, which I'm an NMLS provider. So I've been doing pre-licensing and continuing education for also 14 years for loan officers across the country. So in doing that, I learned the important part of what they needed to know, what they didn't need to know, and what coaching was versus actually sales meetings. Does that make sense? And I
Makes
think
sense.
that's huge for us in our environment, whether they join our environment or whether they just want to log in and learn something. It's very important for giving back to your community and also building that collaborative community right now, especially like you said, since COVID. How do we bring our teams together if we're not all in the same office at the same time? And we're nationwide now. You know, me and you are going to see each other this afternoon and didn't know we were going to see each other this afternoon. And we're like, we could have did this in person, right?
I know.
But so we don't know where we're going to be, but we're so virtual right now. Collaboration is the key. So in talking to over 500 loan officers and different people the past year and collaborating and coaching, support and collaboration is the two things people are looking for. And I go back to, that's how I got into the business. We supported them. We collaborated with them, and their third is educated. And that's what we're doing. And I feel like that's important right now, besides your numbers, like what is going to change someone's career to move forward and actually keep this as a career, maybe for the rest of their life, or enhance somebody. Did I know being fired from my job was going to create 4 generations of income for my family? Wow. How would I know, right?
You never know. So you've been doing this for a while, and you really got into also coaching others. What would be 3 things that you would want the originator to hear today that they should be implementing, or they should be doing, or more importantly, go back to, that can make a difference in this current market?
Number one, I shared with you is education, right? At what point, I think everybody's striving for more information via real estate agents, via the consumer. We see that even though the consumer has the opportunity to get a mortgage online without ever talking to anybody, that's not happening as much as we think, because they do want the collaboration. They do want the conversation. So education is a big piece. How can you really be in your community and out there educating via the real estate agent? So I say this, you should have 33% of your pipeline. 33% should be family and friends. 33% should be real estate related, and 33% should be your community and B2B businesses. So if you take that, does every loan officer really put whoever they come into contact in those buckets? And if you took that for 90 days and you actually took 500 in each category, hold it down, but 10%, 50 in each one, and you really market to those people, you're talking that becomes your community, right? So so education and community, that's a big deal. And then while you're building that, you're collaborating. So don't have a scarcity mindset to not have a conversation with Chris, who is in Alaska, that I'm never going to do business there. Why would I talk to him? Why would I share things with him? I don't know what Chris can teach me. So if I don't have a conversation with Chris, then I don't know what Alaska could teach me. And it's going to teach me something. So we talk about when we met quite a few years ago at the first event. I mean, that was a wonderful event. I still have friends that I just met there at that event. And then also too, I mean, one of the best speakers that I've seen now twice since then because of you, Chris, is Tim Grover, right? Is it Tim Grover?
Yes, Tim Grover's amazing.
I mean, dynamic, right? So I saw him again, and I specifically went to an event just because he was speaking, because I said, I will see him again. So these are things that, change us. And if we don't get out there and cast our net even bigger for ourselves, we don't know what we're going to learn. So education, collaboration, and then finding your community, whether that be your career community and then the community that you're going to market to. Whoever is going to be seen and heard is going to be picked right now. And if you're not being seen and heard, you're not going to be picked. You're not going to make income, right?
Right. That's so true. Yeah. And you know what? I love it the way you made it so simple. 33, 33, 33. And what are you going to do into these three different buckets to be able to make an impact? And I don't know if everybody caught this, but this really said something to me is that you can train someone into this business that can go out produce some of these old veterans.
I have a couple right now.
You and I are a story of that.
Mm-hmm.
But you were willing to educate yourself when the others weren't.
Mm-hmm.
You were willing to go to the classes to learn and to perfect your trade. And I feel like so many people want to skip all of those steps. And I don't understand why they wouldn't continue to want to learn and educate yourself to be better into your career.
Do you think, so can I ask you a question? Do you think it's because they feel like they already know enough about their business, or is it part ego that comes into play? Now, I get tired of Vegas because we always have them in Vegas. So I've gone to Vegas every year since 2002, right? So we want to change that in our industry, but we can't because that's where everybody goes. But everybody always asks me, why do you go? So I go to at least 3 mortgage conferences and then 3 other non-related mortgage things a year, whether it be business or real estate. I go to real estate conferences. We can buddy up with our realtor partners and go to their conferences and learn just as much, or take things back of saying, okay, this is why they're doing that. So I try to attend 3 a year on each category within our career. And it's costly sometimes, and it's time out of our day. Chris, I'm assuming maybe you're going to be at the Housing Wire conference too in a couple weeks.
I am not going to be at that one, and I wanted to be at that, but I am not.
So that's one reason I extended my stay, was another one I picked this year to go to. So some different people in the industry that I wouldn't be in the same rooms with at some other conferences. So I think we discount that of what we're going to learn and what we're going to get from those. And then we may not even have to implement things. It's about the connection that is going to bring to the next one. I can't tell you how many places I go and people, and even your event, I went to and met Tim Grover, and then the next one, he's like, have I seen you before? And the hair, the hair and the glasses, they don't know. But so and that's what I get all the time. But being seen and being heard is going to make a difference in your career in the next 2 years. And I think that's going to really change the trajectory of people who are willing to go out there and learn, and also put themselves in position where they're a little bit more vulnerable to see, okay, show me something, Chris. What am I doing different? What am I doing wrong? What can you do? Can you come in? I've had other people come in and peep into some of our meetings, say, can you tell me what are things that we could do differently? I would love for you to come in and survey me, grade me, and to tell me what you feel like people are looking for out there that we could implement and have into our company as a whole. And I think that's very important right now. But you said something very important. I have 3 or 4 producers right now that have less than 6 months in, who's closing 2 or 3 loans a month. I have one that was with only a year in, was with one other company, moved over, and now she's closing about 2 a month. I mean, and they weren't closing anything before. And it's not we're doing anything different. They're just buying into the resources that they have. And that is what we teach. And it doesn't have to be a Corrina way. It doesn't have to be my highway. We're on a highway together, right? But it's not my highway. I tell them, build your highway how you want it. But here are facets of resources that are out there that people aren't using enough. And if you use these resources, let me tell you, it is going to change what you're doing. And it's evident that some of these newbies are using their resources that some of our seniors, like ourselves, think that we're too good to do, that we already know everything.
Right. That is so true. I'm a loan officer. I'm closing 2 to 3 loans a month. I want to get to 6 or 7. Is there anything you would add to tell that loan officer today to be able to have the opportunity to double in their production? An actual tactic.
So I'm going to go with what I have just become better at in the past 3 years is, of course, time blocking and scheduling, right?
Love
It's important to me. My whole team hears me every morning. Set alarm for 11:45. Set alarm for 12:45. Set alarm for, so I look at my calendar every single morning and I set my alarm for what needs to be done at that moment. And then also I have my calendar dictating it. I missed a meeting yesterday because someone texted me and said, hey, can I talk to you tomorrow at noon? And it wasn't on my schedule. It wasn't on my calendar. It wasn't anywhere to be found except for they were going to call me. And I wasn't in a position to pick up at 12 and I didn't have it set on my alarm. So time blocking and reminders. I remind myself every single day and snooze everything for my follow-ups and what I do and how I touch base.
And you just use your phone to do this?
I use my phone and I use my email too as well. So we use Google Suites. So so in Google Suites, you have your snooze alert, right? So if it doesn't need to be done that second, when is my time blocking, which is usually Saturday mornings from 7 to 11, that I do a lot of my busy work. And then sometimes first thing in the morning, which is becoming very hard West Coast time. I can work East Coast to West Coast and work late.
You mean you're getting up pretty early here?
Yeah. So like 4:35 is like, yes. And trying to get to my desk at 6 is very tough on West Coast time. I do it on East Coast time every day. I don't know what the difference is. But so I say time blocking and scheduling. Are you spending time on things that are really not productive? And so I'll share with you. So I have a COO, which is Deshaun, who's my son, and our growth architect, who Mo Hernandez. And we talk about all the time on how many meetings a week we have, what do we do, how do we circle around, and what all this. And then someone comes to us and says they're too busy to get to an application. We're like, what the hell are you doing with your life that you're too busy? And we're like, have you seen my calendar? Like, you know what I'm saying? So we're like, so are people just too busy in their mind? Are they really too busy on their calendar? Or are they really not structuring their day? So I know that's long-winded, but it's
I hope everybody just caught what you said, because this is a problem in the industry. You're just too busy in your mind. If you could look at if I said, I'm going to audit your calendar for a week and then we're going to review, most loan officers would be embarrassed at the true result at the end. But now if we audited their brain of saying, are you too busy? It would be a disaster. And you said it. That's the best I've ever heard it. Are you too busy in your mind? Or are you too busy in your calendar? That is amazing. Yeah. I'm stealing it.
Okay, I want you to, because I look at my count and I really do. Sometimes I'll screen share with them and I'll look. I said, this is how I worked last year and the year before for us to grow, and also for me to understand that the people that have been with me for 10 years and 15 years, that I wasn't leaving them behind. We're growing together as everybody in the industry, and we're going to help each other figure out what we're going to do for the next 3 years, because the past 2 years have been tough for everybody, right? So I literally can show you on my calendar where I did over 300 meet and greets in the past 10 months. And if I can show you that, and I'm doing these things, are you really too busy in your mind? What does your day look like with your structure? Now, granted, I don't have after school sports. I don't have young kids, but I do have grandkids. I do have to spend some time with them on the weekend, and I am my mom's caregiver. So I still have things I have to do. And right before I got on the call with you, I made a 5-minute call to my mom. Are you set for the day? Are you okay? Is there anything that you need? Because I'm cross country and I have to make sure that she's all good. So those things I may not have scheduled on my calendar, but those are things that keep my mind busy So I know other people are busy in their mind, but does it
Yeah.
look the same? So that's how I gauge and try and start coaching someone and how they're structuring their day and then how they're structuring their operations, whether they spend the most important time on. So, so I don't know. I hope that helps someone, but it does make sense to everybody. Does our fast-paced life right now on social media make us look more productive than what we are
Hmm.
in our
Very good.
minds?
Right. As we're closing and wrapping up, a couple questions. What are you most excited about in the future of the mortgage industry?
I'm most excited about the people that are going to win. And what I mean by that is who is going to put in the work and really come out and be, I don't want to say the next Corrina, but the Corrina that didn't know she was going to be here 25 years later and supporting her family, that this is an industry that could really change your life and really build something different. I'm excited in 2 years to look back and see how someone changed their life for the next 2 years and that it can be done in this market because those are the people that are going to put in the work. Right. So that's what I think that's what I'm most excited about. And so that's why I love the coaching. Right. That's where we talk about the passion that comes out. Right.
Right. That's your joy.
That's the joy. Right. You look back and you look and see. And then what was the second question? Sorry, I lost you.
My second question is this. What is one thing that you're working on today that you're wanting to either change or that you're really trying to implement in the next 6 months?
For us, we are working on, and I say this all the time and people get tired of hearing it, but if you haven't read the book, Unreasonable Hospitality,
Good book.
the way we're going to win as a company, industry and whole, and keep the consumer engaged, in my opinion, is we have got to create unreasonable hospitality for the consumer. And so that starts with the small things in your operations. It starts with the small things for your loan officers. We try to create that for operations for our loan officers, and we try to get our loan officers to create that for the consumer. So I really feel like that is the biggest part that we feel like, okay, will tech take over? Not necessarily because we want that human touch, but some things are going to be a little simpler. So where do we implement those things and create some really serious, unreasonable hospitality for our consumer to be able to get a mortgage?
Last question. If you could go speak to your 10-year-old self, what would you tell her?
So my story is all over the internet, Chris. So I was institutionalized at 14. I don't know if you know that or not.
I don't.
So I ran away from home at 12, and I was literally institutionalized with 12-foot brick walls. Me and my mom sometimes fuss about it because she's like, it wasn't an institution. I said, Mom, I couldn't climb over the wall, and everybody else everybody else there was committed by court order except for me. So that's easy for me.
And now you're her caregiver.
And now I'm her caregiver. So I would tell myself, I'm not crazy. You are just you, and you are going to create the path, whatever you feel like is worth going after. The other book I just read just recently was Worthy by Jamie Lima Kearns, who is the It Cosmetic billionaire. And she said, you were just first. Whatever it is, you just did it first. Doesn't mean you were right, doesn't mean you were wrong, but you just did it first. And at 12, I was very independent and really just chose that I wanted a different lifestyle. It wasn't bad or good. I wasn't running truly from anything. And we look at our kids these days, what buckets do they fit in? My granddaughter is identical to that. She will grow, make her own path for the rest of her life. She will be an entrepreneur, so, but no one in my family knew that about me or knew, and they all said I was crazy, right? That I looked at the world differently. So for me, that's an easy question. I would just tell my 10-year-old self, I'm not crazy. I was just first.
I love that. Thank you for coming on today. I know you changed
Thank you so much
a couple
for
of
having
officers'
me.
lives. I know they had to take away, am I too busy in my mind or am I too busy in my calendar? I think that's the biggest takeaway of the day. Such a cool story, and I'll see you tonight.
Thank you, Chris. I will see you later. Thank you for
See
having
you.
me.
Bye.